Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Court Martial Podcast. Introducing your host for this evening first. He is the host with the most from the West Coast, the Bay Area Brawler, Skylar Greenberg. And his partner, he has colonized, energized, and revolutionized the podcasting wrestling world today. Your Colonial Champion, Sean And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, to another edition of the Court Martial Podcast. This week, ACPW versus NWL Season 3, Episode 6. I am your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, here to break it all down for you and show you what's up. It's actually Episode 5. I'm misnumbering the podcast. That doesn't matter because I'm so excited for these shows, for this episode, that the cognitive skills in my brain are forgetting how to math, and the person who typically handles the math for me is right by my side, the proprietor of NWL himself. While I am your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, he is the man of the hour. He is the man with the power. He is too sweet to be sour. He is going all around the world to find you the hottest wrestling matches you could possibly bring in a tournament you will never forget. It begins today. It is the Bay Area Brawler himself, Skylar Greenberg. Get hype.
Wait, hold on. We're not here to review AEW Forbidden Door?
Oh, thank Christ, no. Thank the great good Lord, no.
If we didn't hate professional wrestling, well, modern professional wrestling, this show would have been us reviewing AEW versus New Japan Forbidden Door.
You're welcome to the fans that we didn't make you watch it, and we didn't make us watch it.
The whole thing is that basically, I'm going to take the AEW New Japan Forbidden Door concept and make it better.
Which is what we do on this show, is we take everything that is done and do it better.
Right, because, again, I love the idea of international competition, best on best, see what we got.
Yes.
That is not what Forbidden Door is.
No, it's just, hey, y'all like New Japan? Well, here's a bunch of matches we're half-ass throwing together, and, you know, I hope you like it. We're going to do this every year. And we also have none of our stars available.
Well, that part is because of injuries, which kind of sucks. But even still, you throw CM Punk or Daniel Bryanson on this show, I don't think it gets much better.
Yeah, Daniel Bryanson would have been a huge plus to this show.
I know.
Without a doubt. But instead, we'll have to see what Bryan Danielson is doing on Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling, because the World Cup, as I mentioned before, Skylar, on NWL is starting today. And as a result, we want to give that the gravitas it deserves.
Right, but we have to follow up what's been going on with Atlantic Coast Pro Wrestling, because this is the aftermath of your big show, May Melee.
That's right. May Melee out of Hartford, Connecticut, the XL Center. We had a lot happen. And we are on episode 23, including May Melee. And episode 23, we've got 2 weeks in our timeline prior to our next event, the yearly Midsummer Showdown, which is going to be held in Orlando, Florida. Not necessarily at Full Sail University, but it'll be held at Orlando, Florida. And it's not going to be at the Impact Zone either. So before you get the joke started, I'm going to kibosh that from the get-go.
I feel like one of these days you should do a show at some point from center stage.
well, you know what? Maybe we know it's in Orlando. We've already talked to the town. We're still working on which venue's going to work out for that. But seeing how August is going to be a jam-packed show, we got to get us there first. So
fair enough.
We've got 6 matches on this show, and right around 6 in-ring interviews, or interviews of some description. I'm going to try and go through this as quick as we can. It's one of those shows where things are happening, but not a lot's happening.
Right, because again, aftermath show, you just had the big match, you just blew your wad, you don't want to,
right,
have to restart it.
Right. Now, for all of us who were not around, Walter and Cody Rhodes competed for the World Championship, the vacant World Championship at May Melee, thanks to a cross-dressed Jim Cornette and a brick in a purse. Walter was taken down, beaten down, and Cody Rhodes capitalized on the situation to become the ACPW heavyweight champion. That's the biggest news, but there's also a lot of other things that have happened on this show, so don't worry about it. May Melee, if you want to take a look, like, share, subscribe. Get a chance to look back. We have a playlist of all the ACPW and NWL shows from start to finish, Season 1, Episode 1, all the way up to what we've gotten in May Melee and NWL Destiny. And that was then, but that was then, and this is now. And we begin with our signature, of course, and Matt Stryker and Taz welcome us in, and Matt Stryker, and before we get to any of the promos, Matt says, well, we have a very interesting main event here tonight, as we got reported that shortly after the May Melee event had finished, we got a set of paperwork from the agent of Damian Priest. And Damian Priest has officially, through this affidavit, challenged Brock Lesnar here tonight. Now, Damian Priest is I don't want to say he's a young upstart. He's definitely had a reputation. He's he's a made man, but in ACPW, we haven't really seen much of him. But he has gotten some very impressive wins in very short order, and because he is a rather large man, not a knock, but it's a rather large man, and Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman have accepted this challenge. So our main event tonight will be Brock Lesnar versus Damian Priest in a battle of the old seasoned veteran, the dominant beast incarnate, versus the man trying to make a name for himself.
I believe the phrase "boy that escalated very quickly" is apropos.
Well, this was just a direct challenge, and we like the spirit of competition here in ACPW. So Arn Anderson said, you know what? Let's make it happen. Let's see how this goes. So
that's such a weird match when you think about it, but yeah, let's see it.
Yeah,
we have a whole show to get through first before we see it.
That's right. And the first thing we see after Matt Stryker Tez says, let's go to the ring, is JR. And JR says, ladies and gentlemen, oh, this is not going to be fun. Please welcome your new ACPW heavyweight champion, Cody Rhodes. And Cody comes out. Cody comes out with Katie Forbes, obviously, his lovely wife with the big rock and other assets. And
I can't tell if the rock you're talking about is her ring or the championship belt.
And it's the ring on her finger. Cody's wearing the belt, and he's also wearing a suit. And Cody comes...
At some point, you gotta have Katie Forbes have the belt on her, so when she shakes her ass, she's shaking the belt too.
Oh, man. Maybe. We'll see how this goes. So Cody comes in, and of course the boos are raining down like crazy.
Boo, you suck.
Because of the manner in which Cody won the belt. And JR goes, well, Cody, this is first of all, I guess I have to say congratulations, if you could call it that, for your ACPW Heavyweight Championship win. What are your thoughts now that you have reached the highest level in ACPW? I want every single human being here to rise and fall to your bended knee to worship your king.
You didn't win it. You didn't win it.
I have reached the very top of this business like I said I would, JR, when I first set foot in ACPW. I said from the very beginning that I was going to do everything I could to put the record straight, set the name right, and bring the prestige to the Rhodes family that it had been lacking since my father had his belt stolen from the Garden. And I've done that. Single-handedly, without any help from anybody, I have become your god.
Boo, you suck.
And because I have now achieved the zenith of professional wrestling, now that I've lived up to my word, JR, I have a few changes I'd like to make. Because, as they say, the one with the belt has all the cards, has all the chips, and controls all the power. And I don't feel that this business in ACPW has been conducted adequately by a man I used to respect, Arn Anderson. I don't feel like the roads have been respected by a man like Arn Anderson, somebody who fought my father over and over and over again, and somebody needs to let the past go, because now you face the present and future of professional wrestling. And from now on, JR, I'm defending this belt whenever I damn well please. Which means this cute little showdown you've got going in August, maybe I'll defend the belt, maybe I won't. It is up to your king to rule over the loyal subjects, and because none of these paupers in ACPW possibly could fare against the likes of wrestling royalty, I will watch these poor peasants fight. I will observe the inadequacies of this talent roster, and when I'm ready to defend this belt, I will defend this belt. But until then, you people here, all of ACPW in the back, and Arn Anderson will have no choice but to love, revere, and worship Cody Rhodes.
Boo.
Kneel before your champion.
Boo.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Cody has definitely laid his mark. He is the new champion, and we're going to have to see what happens there. I'm sure that Arn Anderson isn't going to appreciate Cody taking things into his own hands, but we've got action coming up, so Matt and Taz, let's get back to you.
I hate that Cody Rhodes is such a good heel in your company.
Well, and this is something as well. I want to make this clear now, so that you can understand why I'm doing what I'm about to be doing over the next several ACPW episodes. I am acknowledging that Cody is out of action in real time. So whether Cody competes in August or not, well, we'll see. We'll see. But I'm not mentioning that he's got an injury. I'm not showing the fact that he tore his pec off the bone. I'm having him be a prick with the belt, gloating that he won the belt by himself. So,
because it's a Cody Rhodes move. He would do that. Again, all of this stuff could have been Cody Rhodes' heel gimmick in AEW, and he refused to turn, even though he should have.
Well, and he had no proper guidance from Tony Khan to do something like this. So, you hate to see it. Thanks for giving me Katie Forbes, by the way.
You're welcome.
Because that has been proven to be great. Well, now, we've got our first match, and you're going to laugh at this one. It is Man Scout Jake Manning going one-on-one with Kenny Omega.
Okay.
This match goes 4 minutes, and Kenny is doing a decent job of staying on top of him, but then he starts doing his prissy prancing and the pointing and the gesticulating and all that jazz, and he lines up and he does his little, like, I'm constipated jog as he's pointing to Man Scout to hit the V-trigger. He runs to get the V-trigger, wide whiff, Man Scout ducks underneath, hooks him in a schoolboy, 1, 2, 3. Man Scout Jake Manning has won his first match in ACPW.
Yay! He did it! It only took 3 years.
And the crowd is super happy for him because, you know, there's obviously going to be that group of that following that has been watching Man Scout and likes what he does. So here comes the big win, and it's at Kenny Omega's expense.
Which is what everybody deserves.
Right. And now JR gets in the ring, and Kenny, you could tell Kenny is furious. Kenny is absolutely furious at what just happened. And JR goes, well, Kenny, I mean, we've been doing this every week, and I've told you that all it takes is for you to just slip up and not take this seriously. And this is what, and before JR can get it out, he goes, listen, I am tired of this. I am tired of my art being defouled by each and every one of these inferior wrestlers out there. These people who think that this art is a joke, who think this is competitive. I am a true artist, and no one recognizes my art. No one respects me among the greatest artists and performers of the world, and I'm getting sick of it. You wanted me to be mad? You wanted me to be frustrated? You wanted me to be serious? Well, guess what? I'm getting serious, and I'm tired of this act. I'm tired of the cast, and I'm making the changes. And Kenny rolls out of the ring, and JR's like, well, I must admit, I didn't expect that, but a little fire in the belly from Kenny Omega. Whether that means anything or not is yet to be seen, but Man Scout with a great win, and Kenny's going to have to reel from this loss. Matt and Taz, back to you.
Well.
So, do you think that losing to Man Scout finally pushed Kenny over the edge?
Yes, and maybe hopefully he'll become serious.
It's losing to a guy like Man Scout, and this is not a knock on Man Scout because you know my love of Mr. Manning, but in kayfabe wise, to lose to the penultimate jobber is about as low as you can get.
Yeah.
But,
hey, let's see what happens. Maybe he'll become serious and actually, do something.
Who knows? Who knows? But this is definitely something has changed in Kenny. But speaking of as low as you can go, our next match is Adam Cole versus Shorty G. Are you liking the matchup so far?
This is a weird show.
It is a weird show. I will full-fledged admit this show is all over the road. Would you like to fathom and guess how long this goes?
5 minutes.
It goes 5 minutes.
Yay.
So Shorty G,
what do I win?
Well, the finish.
What's the finish then?
Ready? Here it goes. So Adam Cole is all over Shorty G, and then there's a little kind of like a clunky exchange, and Shorty G starts selling his knee. Like he popped his knee out, and he's really selling it bad, like he's hurt, and he's really going down, and he's whining and bitch moaning and complaining, and the referee's looking at him, and he kind of calls over like a trainer to come to look at it, and Adam Cole, who's looking at this, turns around just for the split second, and as Adam Cole turns around to like head back to the corner, whatever it is, Shorty G pops up, runs, hits what it was an inverted angle slam, but I've got a better name for it now, and I have to credit you for it, Sky. It's called the Guarantee.
Oh, wow.
So Shorty G hits the Guarantee and pins Adam Cole clean.
For the 1, 2, 3.
For the 1, 2, 3. And Shorty G is celebrating. He faked the injury. He's getting the heat. But, I needed Shorty G to win a freaking match. Shorty G has not won in a long-ass time. And it was about time that he got a win. And Adam Cole, this just continues the downward spiral. You could see like the pain and the defeat in Adam Cole's eyes as he just kind of like bowed shoulders, walks to the back afterwards. Shorty G gets the pin, gets out of there, and flies away.
Good for Shorty G. And, well, sucks for Adam Cole.
It does. But it's a quick thing, but this is gonna matter later, so you don't need to worry about this right now, but it's something quick, goes up nice and easy. Shorty G gets a win that he so desperately needs.
And more importantly, you don't have to have an aftermatch angle.
No, because trust me, we'll get to that. Now, speaking of long-winded and taking forever to get to where we need to get to, because that happens quite a lot on this show, it's time for everybody's favorite segment. It's JR in the ring with the Cult of Cornette.
Oh, no.
It's
a podcast about to start within the podcast.
That's right. Out comes Jim and FTR and Jeff Cobb and, of course, the newest acquisition, Bryan Danielson. And the entire cult comes out, and JR says, well, Jim, this is a very interesting situation here. You guys are here tonight, but from what I hear, from Arn Anderson and the schedule here tonight, it doesn't look like any of your guys have matches. And Jim Cornette says, Jim Ross, let me explain something to you. I've got a lot to say. I'm sure that's no surprise, but I've come here on the one day where I didn't have to be here. I flew all the way out here from Louisville to freaking Providence, which has a grand total of nobody who cares about this place. Half of the people don't even know what state it's in, because the state is about the size of a postage stamp, and that postage stamp was licked by the most foul of people, and they all happen to be here tonight. What a coincidence. But I've got a lot on my chest, let alone Providence, Rhode Island. But Providence, get ready, because I'm about to take your ears and do things to them that are going to leave you sore in the morning. I told MJF, I promised MJF that I would have the contingency plan, that there were more members of the cult than he could possibly realize were members of the cult, and boy did he learn the hard way. Because our latest acquisition is the technical mastermind, the greatest technical wrestler of all time, the GOAT, Bryan Danielson. This man has done it all, been it all. He knows what it's like to rise up from the ashes and be the underdog, and he went from underdog and underrated to over the top and championship material. And Bryan Danielson will lead the cult of Cornette to places that it has never been before. This cult, this group of individuals, the best wrestlers in the world, which are the only people that I've ever associated with. We have been the victims of conspiracy, Jim Ross. We have always been the victims of conspiracy from day one in ACPW. And what did we do in response? FTR won the tag belt. Jeff Cobb won the world title. Randy Orton ended Titus O'Neil's career. And Bryan Danielson showed MJF where he belonged. Flat on his back, outside the ring, counted out as lesser than. We have had nothing but the best matches in ACPW. We've had nothing but the best victories in ACPW, and were it not for Arn Anderson, we would still have all the belts in ACPW. But Arn, I'm going at you directly. It's no surprise that we don't have matches tonight, that you thought it was convenient enough to escort us from the building. Like you had any authority to escort us from the building. The people you rely on to keep ACPW afloat and where it's been, which is continuing to skyrocket. ACPW reaches new heights on the backs of Jeff Cobb, of Dax Harwood, of Cash Wheeler, and of Bryan Danielson. But instead of thanking us, instead of appreciating what we've done for you, all you've ever done is criticize. You have laid the hammer down in places where hammers ought not be hammered. And instead of us rolling with the punches, we've stuck it to you, Arn Anderson. And now I have had enough. It's one thing to escort us from the building and force me to dress up in drag in order to get my point across. It's one thing to time after time after time screw over people like Jeff Cobb from entering world championship tournaments and from keeping him from winning in said championship tournaments. But now you've gone too far. When you take the money that we have provided you away from us by keeping us off this card, keeping us out of Providence, well, I'm not standing for it anymore. We're not standing for it anymore. Commissioner Anderson, stand your ass up. Get out here right now. And Arn Anderson, without music, walks down to the ring. And JR goes, well, Corny, we've heard a lot from you. It's now time to hear from Arn about the things you've been saying. And Arn gets the mic and And he says, Jim, all I've ever done was try to maintain the integrity of ACPW. God forbid I try to keep ACPW a place of justice, a fair place where the best men and women come to fight and prove themselves athletically in the ring in good, clean competition. And when people like you, Jim, decide to take the law into their own hands, then the law strikes back. And you remember that old song, I fought the law and the law won? Well, the law is tired of these bandits trying to take everything away from what ACPW's integrity stands for. And I will not sit here and let you make it my fault that you have done the most scumbag moves in all of ACPW. From tar and feathering a man to dressing up in drag and hitting a man with a brick. You think that's fair play? You think that that's friendly? That's good, stiff, athletic competition? I don't know what delusional world you're living in, Jim, but I am not settling for this. I'm not settling for you. You've run roughshod over ACPW for long enough, to the point where tonight, I didn't book you in matches. I didn't even schedule you to be here, but you showed up anyway. So if you don't mind, I'm going to call the security out here and escort you once again from the building because you have no business being here. You have no matches here. And when I feel the time is right to book your men in matches, I will do so. But until then, respectfully, if you don't want charges pressed against you, I'd leave the ring. And security starts to file up on both sides and surround the ring. And Jim Cornette goes, let me tell you something, Arn. Hold on. Because Jim's freaking out. And, Danielson tells him to calm down and all, they get him on level. And then Jim says this. I have been one of the most animated. And that's just my personality. I'm very energetic. But now you've done something to me, Arn. Because what happens is when I start vibrating, when I start getting really, really mad, all that energy goes away and I'm calmer than the waters before storm. And speaking of storm, there is a storm coming because I have a lawyer. You know his name. Listen to my podcast if you'd like to hear the promo. And that man, I've been waiting on, and I've been waiting for you to go one step too far, and now you have. So I want you to expect legal paperwork on your desk. I expect you to understand that injunctions and subpoenas and legal battles are coming your way in a storm that you will not see coming, and by the time it's over, there will be no Commissioner Arn because you're going to be on your ass back to North Carolina, and I promise you this, it's not just us. It's not just the cult that feels this way, Arn. You've been I'm so frustrated I can't speak. You've been playing roughshod. You've been the one running roughshod over ACPW, having no boundaries over your jurisdiction. That comes to an end today. So we leave in peace today, but tomorrow, lightning strikes. You can guarantee that. You can bring that to the bank and cash it, because it might be the last paycheck you ever cash. Let's go.
Well, that was a bit long-winded, but it got the point across.
That's my fault, not Jim's fault.
Nah, Jim Cornette has been known to go on rambling rants of whatever. I'm curious, which version of I Fought the Law are you talking about? Are we talking the Crickets, the Clash, or the Dick Kennedys?
Yes.
All three?
All of them. Every one of them. All three of them. So
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But it turns out, looks like the direction of this is more headed towards more towards the Office. Arn Anderson and Jim Cornette have gone back and forth before, but it kind of feels like this is amping up a notch when it comes to the conspiracy theories that Jim Cornette is spouting out.
Well, Well, let's see what happens. But Jim Cornette does have a dangerous group behind him, so what he says goes. Even if it's a bit,
sketchy.
Out there.
That's right. Well, now we have another match. It is a match that we were trying to have on May Melee and got cut for time. It's Outlaw Inc. versus Santana and Ortiz.
All right, let's do this thing.
This match, how long do you think this match goes?
8 minutes.
This is going to go 15.
Giving it 15?
I'm giving this 15 minutes. So, this match goes back and forth. Obviously, it's a big brawl slugfest because you're not going to see many headlocks and wrist locks coming out of Outlaw Inc.'s corner. And Santana and Ortiz can do them, but they may not do them. But this is a brawl. The finish of this match is Santana's making the comeback. He's about to tag Ortiz when Homicide runs in and kind of bolts Ortiz through the ropes. And then all hell breaks loose. They start going back and forth. The referee's trying to keep an eye on everything. One of Homicide slams Ortiz into the ring post, and the referee's trying to talk to Homicide. And while the referee's talking to Homicide, Kingston, who's in the ring, grabs a chain, rolls the chain around his fist, and he's getting ready to do the back fist. Santana turns around, wham! Back fist with the chain. Santana goes down. He takes the chain off, throws the chain out, and as he throws the chain out, the bell rings. I forgot to mention it's a 15-minute time limit.
Time limit draw?
It's a time limit draw, but the action doesn't stop. The bell rings, and the beatdown keeps going. And Kingston's just wailing on him. He's not even using the chain. He used that to got the point across. And Ortiz and Homicide are going at it, and Homicide's getting the better of that. Santana's really hurt. And then security's busy tonight. Referees start to come in, and they start to break it up, and Kingston and Homicide get out of the ring and go to leave, and Santana is busted open, and Ortiz kind of goes down there and kind of looks at him, tries to take care of him, and that's kind of the last shot we see of this match. Santana's busted, Ortiz is looking after him, Outlaw Inc. get the last word, but it is still a time limit draw, so neither team wins.
Which means that this feud must continue.
Yes. Your thoughts on this big beatdown?
This is a good idea. You don't want to necessarily have these two teams, take a loss here, so the time limit draw works. But the beatdown does definitely give one team an advantage.
Yeah, it keeps the heat going. It gives something for Santana and Ortiz to fight back with. And also keep in mind, this is the first match we've seen of Santana and Ortiz. And we haven't seen Outlaw Inc. do diddly jack squat in pretty much the entirety of this year. So,
well, now we're going to see them do diddly jack squat.
That's right, name dropper. And now we get into the back half of this show, and we're cruising along here, folks. I told you this is going to be a weird show with mostly setup. And it's Tony Schiavone in the back, and Tony goes, "Hello, I am Tony Schiavone, the backstage announcer for ACPW, and I'm having a great time here in Providence, Rhode Island, and I am here with the former women's champion, Camille." And Camille looks at Tony, and Tony looks at Camille, and Tony goes, "Well, Camille, unfortunately, you came up on the wrong end of that women's championship match, and Shayna Baszler won the belt. I just want to get your feelings and your reactions about losing the belt, and what's next for Camille going forward." And Tony puts the mic to Camille, and Camille doesn't say anything. She kind of looks over at Tony. And right as she's about to go to speak, Alexa Bliss goes, No, don't answer that. In comes Alexa Bliss. "Camille, I respect you. I've watched what you've done, and I got to tell you something. You are a one-of-a-kind talent. A talent that shouldn't be subjected to injustice the way that you were subjected to injustice in ACPW's May Melee. The entire world saw your leg fall underneath the ropes when you, quote-unquote, passed out. The entire world knows that belt shouldn't have changed hands. The entire world knows that your leg was where it needed to be to keep that belt, but instead, you got screwed. You lost your match, and you want to know why you lost your match, Camille? It's not because you had a travesty of justice. It's because you didn't have someone properly watching your back. You were too valuable of a talent to not have someone watching your back. And you know what? I lost my match too. We could benefit from each other, Camille. I need somebody like you. I'm only 5 feet tall, and I don't care how many people in Providence want to get with this 5 feet tall, 5 feet of Fury, because the Fury is mounting and it's larger than any athlete in ACPW. Except for you. Because you are a mastodon. You are an Amazoness. And I want you and I to benefit from each other. We can rule ACPW's women's division together. Now, you don't need to answer me now. I'm just extending the offer out there. If you're not sure about what I'm capable of, watch me take out an old fossil next, and then see what you think. And Alexa walks out, and we're going to get a match here with Alexa here in just a second. And Tony goes, Camille, do you have anything to say? You have any response? Camille looks at Tony, kind of just looks down, looks at Tony again, and just turns and walks away.
Very smart to keep Camille. Camille is getting better in the ring. I'm going to say this right now because I've watched her more recently. She's getting better in the ring. She's starting to have longer matches. Like, yep. I think she had like a 10-minute match or something. But she's not a great promo yet. She still needs a little bit of work in that department. So it's good to keep her kind of quiet. I find it funny that, of all people, Alexa Bliss is the one trying to get Camille to be by her side and do basically another Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash version.
Well, I'm not saying that I took any influence from anywhere specifically, but Alexa Bliss did lose her match at May Melee. That is a true statement. And so did Camille. And the fact that Alexa Bliss noticed the leg, even though it wasn't majorly promoted that happened by ACPW, also gives Alexa Bliss, even though the people don't necessarily like the way that she's presenting this information, she's not lying.
Nope, she's not lying. She's telling the truth. And more importantly, she's trying to endear herself to Camille. Whether it works, well, let's see what happens in this match, and let's see if Camille can be convinced.
Well, this matchup is Alexa Bliss versus Mickie James. And this match is going to go... How long do you think this match is going to go?
Let's give it 9 minutes.
I gave it 8 minutes. So that's pretty close.
Damn.
That's pretty close.
I should have said 8.
So this match goes back and forth, but Mickie James is just that bit taller, that much more experienced. We get to the finish where Mickie goes for the DDT, that jumping DDT that she likes to do. Alexa Bliss slides out, kind of pushes Mickie. Mickie gets back on top of Alexa Bliss. As Mickie goes to shoot Alexa Bliss into the ropes, Camille has run down and takes one hand and lowers the top rope, so Alexa Bliss falls over the top rope, and she catches Alexa Bliss with her right hand and sets her down outside the ring, and the referee calls for a disqualification.
So it's an influence over the top rope.
And the winner of this match is Alexa Bliss because Mickie threw her over the top rope.
Boo, technicalities.
And of course everybody's pissed, but Alexa Bliss looks at Camille. Camille looks down and kind of nods at Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss jumps up and hugs Camille, and Camille takes Alexa Bliss, and they walk out together.
So female Kevin Nash.
Maybe.
And female Shawn Michaels.
Maybe. But this is another thing, too. I don't want Camille necessarily right back in the title picture right away. And aligning Alexa Bliss with her kind of allows this to go different places before we get back to that point.
Right, because they complement each other's weaknesses. Alexa Bliss is not that great in the ring, but Camille can be the powerhouse and can be her force for her. Alexa Bliss is a great promo. Camille doesn't really have much of a promo to speak of, so Alexa Bliss can talk for her. Right.
And Alexa Bliss is obviously pissed. Or not Alexa Bliss, I'm sorry. Mickie James is obviously pissed because she had that match. It was in the middle of the match. What did Camille have to do with it? And so we will have to see, because there's obviously Mickey's going to be pissed, and how's she going to react to this proceedings?
Well, she's not going to be happy.
No, she's not going to be happy. Well, speaking of people who aren't going to be happy, we've got another matchup. We're cruising along here, folks. We're nearly done. It is Beer Money versus Ford and Dawkins.
3 minutes.
This one goes pretty much 3 minutes, but I liked the finish I gave for this one. Because Ford's going to get a thumb to the eye and try to go up to the top. He's going to try and jump for a splash. Rude's going to catch him midair and spine buster him onto the mat.
Lay him out.
And that's it. Yeah, that's yeah. It's done and done. And
you don't have to, make it complicated.
Yeah. Nope. Real easy, but a fun spot that people are going to be like, "Oh my god, that was cool." So then JR gets back in the ring and JR goes, "Well, James, Robert, you two have obviously we saw what happened at May Melee where Roderick Strong cost you guys the ACPW Tag Team Championships. I just want to get your thoughts as to what happened then and what's going to happen going forward with you guys in the tag title picture." And Robert Roode goes, and this is pretty quick. We're pretty chill guys when we're not beating people up. We sit back, we drink beer, we enjoy ourselves. But what you two did, you three did, I misspoke, because there were three of you. The numbers game decided to play their petty little games once again, and the wrestling's finest have proved they're the wrestling's fakest. Because they don't know how to win without cheating. They don't know how to be honorable men who win by fighting, who win by pinning properly their opponents to the mat. They don't know how to do it. All we've ever done is kick ass and take names. And yeah, the two of us, we may not be the youngest guys anymore. We may not be the prime candidates that might be the future of tag team wrestling, but I'll be damned if you say that we can't still go. So we demand a rematch between us and them. And if you got qualifiers, we don't care. Because we've got nothing else to lose at this point. Our careers are what they are. So name your terms, wrestling's finest. But I promise you, at Midsummer Showdown, you will be facing us again. And at the end of Midsummer Showdown, those belts are going around the waists of Beer Money.
See, that's the thing, is that Robert Roode, when he gets serious, can be a great promo. And that's a typical Beer Money promo when they're angry.
Yeah, this is, again, I'm not going complicated here. I'm going, we're pissed we lost. We shouldn't have lost. We're having another match, whether you like it or not.
Continue the feud.
Yep. And that's all this has to be. That is all that has to be. Up next, we go to a break and we get a vignette package for a new acquisition because we know he's there. We don't know when he's going to be there, but we hear that the latest ACPW acquisitions, we talk about Pete Dunne gets a vignette, and of course, there's rumors going around that have not been confirmed that ACPW has been in talks with Stone Cold Steve Austin. We'll see what happens, but nothing is for certain. But the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin has taken an interest in ACPW is enough for ACPW to tout it out.
Okay, fair enough.
So then, Tony Schiavone's in the back, and Tony goes, "Hello, I am Tony Schiavone, the backstage announcer for ACPW, and here I have a man who didn't lose at May Melee, but he didn't win at May Melee. It went to a time limit draw, and unfortunately that meant that both men were eliminated from the world title tournament. But the world wants to know what's on the mind of CM Punk." And CM Punk stands there and goes, "Well, the first thing I'm going to ask, because it's on everyone's minds, obviously we know what happened at May Melee, but your opponent at May Melee is wrestling Damian Priest tonight in our main event, and I just want to get your thoughts on that main event and who you think will win." Well, Tony, I've met a lot of people in this business from the time I stepped foot in it. I've worked with a lot of guys. I've had a lot of guys work with me who like me, and I like them. And I gotta say, this Damian Priest has got nothing but potential. This guy's riding the wave of potential right now. It takes a good set of huevos to challenge a man like Brock Lesnar, I would know I've done it. And I hope the best for Damian Priest. I hope this could be the biggest win of his career. And if he plays his cards right, he might just be able to do it. Brock Lesnar is a tough cookie, but he's not unbeatable. He's not unbeatable, and that's been proven because he couldn't beat CM Punk, which means it's very possible that he can't beat Damian Priest. So I'm very much looking forward to watching that match. And from the corner you hear, I bet you are. And in walks Paul Heyman. I bet you're fascinated at watching Brock Lesnar make an example out of Damian Priest. Brock Lesnar accepted the challenge of Damian Priest not because he needs to fight, but because he needs to prove something to you, Punk. You think you're Brock Lesnar's equal, but look at you. Tattoos everywhere, skinnier than a beanpole. You've got a lot of gall to think you're on the par with Brock Lesnar, especially because you couldn't beat Gall the way that Brock Lesnar dominated UFC, became its heavyweight champion, and you lost to two people who never fought again. So I don't see why you think you're this poster child for wrestling and poster child for combat athletics. You blame Brock Lesnar for sports entertainment. But if it weren't for sports entertainment, there'd be no CM Punk. Why? Because I made it so. You have a lot to thank for yours truly. I am the one who brought CM Punk to the dance, and you know that. I'm the guy who said this man could reach heights that nobody else has since Brock Lesnar. And if it were not for me, your name would mean nothing. You'd still be the chick magnet trying to sell Pepsi at the concession stand. But I promise you, CM Punk, that Brock Lesnar isn't through with you. Because you haven't beaten him. He wasn't getting beat. He's gotten mad. And there is nothing more dangerous than an angry beast unleashed. I'll see you at Midsummer Showdown. But until then, watch and learn.
My only thing is, I'm pretty sure CM Punk would have said something back to Paul Heyman.
Did you say that? Was I finished?
No.
Well, then what are you saying?
Well, what are you saying?
Well, and CM Punk goes, Paul, you think this small oration that you do, this lulled thing, I'm proud that you're able to, in your advanced stage, know how to put people to sleep. You know, you'd be a great father. You'd be a great father, because the second that you start talking, your kids would be out like a light. But it's not you that made CM Punk CM Punk. The people made CM Punk. Even when I dumped on these people, they chanted my name. Through your matches, they chanted my name. And doesn't matter what you label me, because I've learned that with labels come stables, and no thing is more stable than CM Punk. But the most revealing thing about what you just said to me, Paul, is your instability. You need to take credit for my career while your client's career could shatter in an instant tonight. I've looked into those beady little eyes more times than you'd like to admit, Paul, and I could sense the fear. And if Brock Lesnar beats CM Punk, which he won't, if Brock Lesnar beats Damian Priest tonight, I'll be waiting. Because while you put people to sleep, I'll make Brock go to sleep.
Okay, I stand corrected.
And
I stand very much corrected.
And Paul looks at it and goes, we'll see. We'll see. And Paul walks out because Paul's needed for this next match.
Right. This whole thing is just a dick measuring contest in many ways between the two of them.
True.
But it's two of the best promos in wrestling going back and forth. And that's the beauty of these guys, that they don't make them like Paul Heyman. They don't make them like CM Punk. We have to treasure these guys because who knows how much longer they're doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Heyman is doing it for fun at this point. I mean, he could use the money. You never know.
Paul Heyman could cut these promos in his sleep. It's like...
And we know CM Punk is doing this for fun and a lot of money, but for fun mostly.
Yep. And I think that with this going on, and I wanted to also do this to also kind of add more hype to Damian Priest by having Punk weigh in on this match and kind of make this match feel like it's important to what the feud between Brock and Punk is doing. Because it's all about momentum, right? Brock loses this match, all of a sudden, the dynamic shifts. Because Punk was about
no longer the beat.
Right.
He's no longer the beast. There's no longer that aura. Then he's just another guy.
Right. And seeing how Punk nearly beat Brock until the bell rang, Brock has never looked more vulnerable than he had against CM Punk, and we'll have to see what happens in this matchup.
Yes, we will. Now, what happens in this matchup is going to be very short.
Well, folks, it is our main event. And can you believe it? It's under an hour, and ACPW is at their main event.
Let's see what happens.
It is Brock Lesnar versus Damian Priest. And how long do you think this match goes?
5 minutes.
I gave it 7. And Brock obviously takes advantage, like, from the get-go. You know, German suplexes, this little jog step, you know, belly to belly, German suplex. Brock's having a good time. Heyman's laughing his ass off. And finally, Paul says, end it. So Brock goes to get him in the F5, and he goes to hit it. Damian Priest lands on his feet, hits him in the gut. Brock goes to spear him in the corner, you know, to do the shoulder thrust. Priest kind of shushes him over so that Brock's shoulder hits the ring post. Brock comes reeling back. Damian Priest hits him with a huge boot. And the crowd is going crazy. Like, holy cow. Damian Priest is actually getting offense on Brock Lesnar. He's making Brock Lesnar bump here. And there's a little more fire in Damian Priest. He gets a couple more punches. Brock tries to take advantage. Damian Priest is one step ahead until finally Brock gets him up, tries to hit another F5, or he goes to hit a German. I'm sorry, read the notes wrong. Goes to hit a German, goes to German. Damian Priest lands on his feet somehow. Brock turns around. Damian Priest hits his choke slam on Brock Lesnar. And he's about to go for the pin when Paul Heyman gets up on the apron and starts arguing with the referee and going, no, don't do it. And now, you know, and Damian Priest turns around, sees the refs out of position, and goes to get Paul, gets Paul by the throat. Like he's about to choke slam Paul, but that momentary distraction is enough for Brock Lesnar to get up, wrap the arms around Damian Priest, big German, gets him up, F5, 1, 2, 3. Brock wins.
Boo, you suck, you suck, you suck. That would be a really big thing if Damian Priest was given that much of a push. I mean, it's what you do with Brock Lesnar with guys who you want to, you know, do well even though they're not going to win.
Yeah, and Brock, you know, is obviously celebrating. And on the ramp, you see CM Punk look at Brock. Brock looks at Punk. Heyman smiles. And you see that face-to-face one last time before the show goes off the air. And while the show's going off the air, we hear, you know, Matt Striker, kind of like how Mid-South went, kind of just talking about what's coming up next week. So next week, we've got the Varsity Blondes are going to be there. FTR is going to be in action. Mickie James, the tag champions are going to be there. The women's champion, Shayna Baszler, is going to be there. Cody Rhodes, obviously. Eli Drake's going to be there. Bryan Danielson's going to be in action, and we're going to hear from Walter and Dr. Britt Baker, that and so much more heading into next week. Of course, the Midsummer Showdown in 2 weeks' time in Orlando, Florida. thank you very much for being a part of this ACPW episode, and we'll see you next time.
Good stuff. I mean, I know it's a cool-down show. You can't have all the stars appear, but for what it is, it was a good show. It's a good way to settle things down and set things up for the next show.
Yeah, I will openly admit, it's not my magnum opus. But it's not meant to be. Right? It's about setting some things, getting some wheels turning, because realistically, stuff that happens in this episode is not stuff. I mean, some of it's going to be paid off in August, but a lot of this is set up towards December. So this is setting a lot of wheels in motion that are going to be more interesting and more engaging as the weeks roll on, rather than kind of just lighting the candle and waiting for the candle to for the wax to start to drip.
Right, but ultimately you're setting it up and building excitement for the next thing, and that's what a wrestling show has to do.
That's right.
And what modern wrestling shows don't do.
Yeah,
nowadays.
And now, will I expect this to be my highest rated ACPW episode, just regular episode of TV? No, I don't. I would expect that probably the ratings, I don't want to necessarily go down, but I'd say they'd probably be at the same level, But I will say this was more about getting Damian Priest something of value, because I don't want Damian Priest to just get random wins against random people and then eventually be like, okay, what are we doing here?
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. Again, you're building Damian Priest up. You're making him look good. You're giving him opportunity.
And I want the necessity of new stars to also, because of how stacked my roster is with Brock and Punk and Danielson and what I've done with Jeff, the entire cult of Cornette and FTR and Wrestling's Finest and all of these guys who have built up this massively stacked roster. I don't want it to feel like WCW, where it's all these big names and then everybody else.
Right. But and that would be a really big sin. You have to incorporate new talent and give them stuff to hang on to. And that way, when time comes, you can start pushing them and it won't just feel out of nowhere.
That's right. But eventually, either CM Punk or Brock Lesnar is going to have to face the music. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of songs they decide to sing if one should emerge victorious come the Midsummer Showdown. And what kind of music, Sky, do you think that people like Brock Lesnar and CM Punk, when they're getting ready for those big matches, might listen to?
Well, they will probably listen to high energy stuff that would get them ready, that would get them focused, that would get them in the mood.
That's right. Something that hypes them up, gets them jazzed. Maybe they want something different. They don't want to listen to Young Gravy and Drake's crappy EDM album he just came out with. They want to listen to quality. They want to listen to new, innovative things. And that is something that I might be able to provide for them, Skylar.
Well, what can you provide them with?
Well, I'm going to introduce them to AB Productions CT because, folks, I'm doing this one off the cuff because I did not have the time to write a plug, so bear with me here as I long-wind my way through this promo. But AB Productions CT is proud to drag you out of the superficial monotony and overproduced, oversimplified modern musical mud pit with two industry-busting artists taking the world by storm, and it's summertime. And up here in the Northeast, it is sweltering hot. I can only imagine what it's like down in the South and down over there in the Golden Land that you happen to be habitating, Sky. But it's been pretty stonking hot out here. I'm sure that's either laughter or tears coming from your face or sweat beating down your face. Because
Continue.
It's sweltering hot, and there's no way to cool down and feel those vibes and to jam with the summertime than to pop out that boombox, get out on the beach, and listen to some quality music. Because it is high time for the music industry to be shaken to its core, so come be a part of the foundation-breaking movement by supporting aspiring artists. And our latest release, Live as One, Live spelled with the number 3, produced by Abizzle, performed by White Knux. It's the song for weddings or betrothed or just somebody you happen to like. It is that song to bring you into that summer spirit. We've got that and the entire anthology of all 100 songs and projects, including but not limited to Retreat, Mixed Bag, Bearman, Recovering, The Wax Apocalypse, the Quarren tapes, which are exclusive to SoundCloud, and so much more. Look for Abizzle, spelled Abizzle, or White Knux, spelled White space Knux on Spotify, Apple Music, or SoundCloud. We also have an iHeartRadio. We can be found pretty much anywhere at this point. All you gotta do is look. The link is in the description. Come join the entertainment revolution with AB Production CT. Better scripted promo coming next week.
Could you imagine Brock Lesnar at a karaoke machine singing songs?
Yes. I totally can believe that. Dude, he came out with a boombox. Well, it wasn't a boombox. It was the Money in the Bank, but he jammed out to the boombox. That guy's got personality. I could totally see him going up and just laying the karaoke, smashing the karaoke machine, and hitting one of the bartenders into the dartboard. That sounds pretty in line for Brock Lesnar. But it's time to spice things up with some international spices. We're not talking about KFC's 11 herbs and spices. We're talking about global action in the form of the spiciest action. It is World Cup time, folks. NWL. I'm excited for this, the first round of the tournament, but don't let me describe it. Let the founder describe it. Skylar, the floor is yours.
The floor is mine, and welcome to the NWL World Cup Series.
Yes, sir.
I'm so excited I'm misspeaking. This is going to be an interesting show. We have 10 matches for you, 2 preliminary show matches, and 8 first-round matchups in the World Cup Series.
All right.
So let's go ahead and get a shot at the rankings real quickly. We'll just borrow this for a second. Our first preliminary show matchup, we have debuting talent.
Ooh.
Nikita Lyons versus Mandy Rose.
Well, you haven't pushed Mandy Rose up to this point. I doubt that's going to change.
And I'm going to continue to not push Mandy Rose because Nikita Lyons wins in 5 minutes, and she does her little thing where she spreads her legs, puts on Mandy Rose, and the hearts of men everywhere cry in agony.
Folks, if you've never seen this finish, I implore you to go look it up, especially if you're thirsty.
Yep. Now, one note I want to make, Nikita Lyons does win this match. She's celebrating. She's walking down to the ramp. As she gets up to the top of the ramp and is saluting the fans one last time, the music for Jade Cargill hits, and Jade Cargill immediately pushes Nikita Lyons out of the way as she goes to the ring for her match.
All right. Fair enough. Trying to make that statement, albeit not necessarily through words, but Jade's here to do business.
Yep. Jade Cargill versus Dana Brooke is the next match.
All right.
5-minute match. Jade Cargill wins. I'm not having her do the ostrich kick. Screw that.
I respect and appreciate that, and I don't know why she still does that.
I haven't watched her recently, so I don't know what kind of move she does. For now, I'm just going to have her finish be, basically, she lifts them up in the fireman's position, and then when she goes for a finisher, she just throws them.
So, almost like the Wasteland from Wade Barrett.
Basically, it's like the Wasteland from Wade Barrett.
I got you.
I'll give it that one.
I like that one. I always thought that finisher did not get the respect it deserves. I thought that looked pretty devastating when Wade did it.
Yep, and it works for Jade Cargill because, again, she's taller than most of the women. She's stronger than most of the women. We'll call it the car crash.
Yeah, and she's got those broad shoulders, so, it totally makes sense that she would just go wham and just lay them down like that.
Yep. Now that we've had our preliminary show matches out of the way, we're going to go to the NWL World Cup Series Open with our general manager, Kurt Angle, in the ring with the trophy in the middle of the ring.
Nice.
Now, Kurt Angle begins, "Hello, everybody, and welcome to the National Wrestling League World Cup Series. You know, this tournament has been a dream of mine. As a professional wrestler, when I was wrestling in the Olympics, there was always one thing I strived for: proving myself, getting better, being the best, and challenging the best. And when I won my Olympic gold medal, what it meant was that I was representing my country. And not just representing my country, but representing my country on a worldwide stage against the best of other countries. And that is what we're here for starting today. This tournament has been a dream of mine, and I'm happy to be the general manager of the National Wrestling League and beginning this tournament. 32 wrestlers, single elimination tournament representing 9 different countries will be competing in this tournament. The best of the best are here to win this, the World Cup trophy. And they will be declared the World Cup champion and will wrestle our National Wrestling League heavyweight champion, Roman Reigns, at Wrestle Festival in November. Everybody, welcome to the World Cup.
Kurt Angle unveils the trophy. It's a trophy, and Kurt Angle is the trophy.
It's just a gold-plated Kurt Angle.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when Kurt was there. I'm like, but you know, the funniest thing is, it would make sense if you were. I mean, unfortunately, if Kurt Angle unveiled a trophy of himself, people would probably boo. But like, of any one wrestler that would be representative of a World Cup, it would probably be Kurt Angle.
Oh no, maybe in future years we can call it the Kurt Angle World Cup.
There you go. There you go. Aiming for the future. But in any case,
yep.
I'm excited to hear how this goes.
Right. Now the fans are clapping, saluting as the cup is unveiled. And Kurt Angle says, "Let the tournament begin." And we hear these sounds. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Please tell me
and
this isn't Big Swole.
It's Pat McAfee.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank God.
Now, 1 second right now, Kurt Angle, I want to know something. Why did you put yourself in this tournament? I can't believe it, Kurt. Are you that senile? Are you that deprived? Are you that star hungry? As Pat McAfee is walking to the ring and the people are booing him.
Boo!
Listen here, Kurt Angle.
Boo!
This tournament is about the best of the best. And it should not be about you being in this tournament and you jerking off in front of all these other fans. You just like to get your name out there, don't you? Like an arrogant, prickly, egotistical son of a bitch. Isn't that right, Kurt? I guess it's what I should expect. Because every single time that you come out here, you're talking about yourself. Oh, you're Olympic gold medalist. No one cares about your Olympic gold medal.
Boo!
You won your Olympic gold medal when cell phones were bricks. And in fact, that's what you should be doing right now is kicking the bricks with all these people who blindly follow you like sheep.
Boo!
This tournament should be about me, the leg of all legs, coming back from a career-threatening, life-threatening injury that you caused. And the fact is I have to wrestle you. Kurt Angle, you should disqualify yourself from this tournament because you are an authority figure. As an authority figure, you are playing sides and you are clearly biased. Now, Pat McAfee is basically gotten in the ring, and the whole time now he's just standing in front of Kurt Angle. He's spitting at him. And Pat McAfee says, do what's right for the company and get out of this tournament. Because, Kurt Angle, if you are in this tournament, I will do the worst I can upon you and make it so that you can't walk anymore. Because of the punishment that you gave me, I will return it tenfold. I am Pat McAfee. Do you understand me? Now, at this point, Kurt Angle is acting nonchalant. He takes one finger, rubs his ear, looks at it, and then takes the microphone and punches Pat McAfee in the face.
All right. Is this our first match?
No.
Oh.
Kurt Angle just simply does his little cufflinks, adjusts them as Pat McAfee takes a bump, and Kurt Angle says, listen, Pat McAfee, you're right. I'm an authority figure, but I'm also an athlete. And the fire competition still burns in me, damn it. I wanted to be in this tournament. And yeah, sure, it's a little bit of bias, but understand something. I know I'm not going to win this tournament. I am way past my prime. I am not the man I used to be. I'm no longer the Olympic gold medalist I was. But damn it, I'm Kurt Angle. And I would be damned if I wouldn't be competing in this tournament because I want to be in this tournament fighting the best of the best. I wanted to be in this tournament to fight other people from other countries or from the U.S. and prove myself. I did not mean to get drawed against you, Pat. But trust me, I'm not complaining. When I see you in the tournaments, I promise what I did to your leg last time will feel like nothing compared to what I do to you this time.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Damn true. Now, this matchup will actually happen in July. They've been booked for July.
Yeah. And when your ankle's broken, those hospital bills will be real. It's damn real.
Yep.
So anyways, love it.
Now we're going to move on to the actual first match of the World Cup Series, and the first of 8 matches tonight. Kofi Kingston versus Dominik Guerrero.
Got you. And I do have to say, I do appreciate these slides that the fine folks are seeing that have the representation of their respective countries underneath it, so you can tell that the world is involved.
Right, because again, the whole thing is that this is a World Cup, and I want to basically give the wrestlers the opportunity to represent their country, represent their place, represent their origins, and, you know, there's something beautiful about fighting for your country, fighting for your people, and 9 countries represented in this tournament. Kofi Kingston representing Ghana versus Dominik Guerrero representing the United States.
All right. How's it go?
Now, I do want to be clear. Xavier Woods is on the outside with Kofi Kingston, and Rex Steiner is on the outside with Dominik Guerrero. And remember, the New Day and NXT Generation have been feuding with each other, so of course they get matched up in this tournament.
Yes, they have. So this has got a little bit of heat going on between these two, a little bad blood. So that'll definitely add to the intrigue.
Yep. Kofi Kingston and Dominik Guerrero. I'm going to give this a 12-minute match. Kofi has the advantage in the beginning. Dominik has to kind of cheat, basically thumb to the eye, get the advantage, gets the heat. Kofi makes the comeback. Kofi is setting up for trouble in paradise. Dominik Guerrero is down. Rex Steiner gets on the ropes to complain. Xavier Woods comes over, grabs the leg, rips it out from Rex Steiner. Kofi Kingston does trouble in paradise to Dominik Guerrero for the 1-2-3. And Kofi Kingston advances.
Interference gone awry, but I think this is the right move. I mean, as much as I like what you've done with Dominik Guerrero and Rex, Kofi... See, what's interesting about WWE and what they did with Kofi is that even though he was in the New Day, the second that he branched out on his own and was able to do his thing with the WWE World title, everybody accepted that because Kofi had already proven himself as a single star. So it makes sense that he would be able to come in here and do what he had to be done in order to advance himself as that single star, even though he's still intrinsically attached to the New Day. So I like this move.
Because again, the whole thing with the New Day is that they're stable, but they're also individuals. And Kofi Kingston is a distinguished wrestler, and he's just so damn likable.
Yeah. And also, I like Dominik, but we've said it before, he's still green. And a big part of the reason why Rex and Dominik work well together is that they can kind of hide each other's weaknesses. Dominik in this situation would be kind of exposed, so this putting him in with a veteran like Kofi helps him, A, gain experience, but B, you don't want Dominik beating a veteran like this right now, when you've got the eggs more into the tag team basket to help get them better.
Exactly. Now we're going to move on to the next matchup. It is representing the United States of America, Keith Lee versus representing Nigeria, Apollo Crews.
Okay.
I'm choosing to have Apollo Crews represent Nigeria because even though he is American, he did go by Nation for a long time, and he is legitimately Nigerian. And I wanted to, give that to him.
Yeah, without the crappy accent and the flower pot staff.
He can carry the Nigerian flag, and that's something that they do in mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
They carry the flag of their country.
Flag is fine. Flower pot staff, not so much.
No. Now, this is an 8-minute match. It kind of is the same thing where Keith Lee gets the advantage. Apollo Crews has to roll out of the ring. Eric Bischoff does a little bit of a distraction for Apollo Crews. So when Keith Lee is arguing with Eric Bischoff, Apollo Crews comes from behind, hits a chop block on Keith Lee's leg, works on the leg. Keith Lee makes the comeback, eventually hits the powerbomb for the 1-2-3.
Simple but effective.
Simple but effective. Again, even though it's a World Cup, these matches do not need to be groundbreaking because
No.
this is only the first round.
Yeah, we don't need jumpstart and afterbirth in every single one. And besides, in order to add to the legitimacy of a World Cup, you need to have just regular matches. You know, you can't have shenanigans just completely take over the entire tournament, otherwise it delegitimizes the entire tournament.
Yep. Now, we're going to take a break from the tournament for a little bit, and we have an interview, a pre-tape interview, with Renee Young and her guest at this time, the NWL World Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns.
Oh, boy.
So Renee Young thanks Roman Reigns for his time and asks him what he thinks of the World Cup. And Roman Reigns says, you know, the World Cup is a great idea, seeing 32 of the best go head-to-head with each other. And I'm looking forward to watch this tournament progress, especially since my cousins, the Usos, and Jacob Fatu are in this tournament representing Samoa.
That's right.
But I want everyone in this tournament to understand, the winner, no matter who it is going up against the Tribal Chief. And while they may be a World Cup champion, they won't be the World Heavyweight Champion. That will still be me. Now, Renee moves on to the next question and asks, speaking of, though, two of the competitors in this tournament are your former friends in the Shield, Seth Rollins and Jon Moxley. And they returned last month and gave you a little bit of a bruising. And do you have any comment about their returns? Roman Reigns scowls and says, you know, Renee, it's funny you are asking me this, considering your husband was the one that did it to me.
True.
Roman Reigns puts his hand on her shoulder, and she's uncomfortable with this.
I'm uncomfortable with that.
And Roman says, listen, I have a message for Jon Moxley and Seth Rollins. Yeah, I hurt both of you. But honestly, I did it for your own goods, because I know you two. You're both stubborn. You both would have been going after the World Heavyweight Championship. And you would have been disappointed. You would have been broken far beyond belief. The injuries I gave you were a blessing, because I gave you time with family, friends, wives, children.
Bray Wyatt loves the children.
Get out of here with Bray Wyatt. Let me do my serious
I'm sorry.
promo,
I'm
you
sorry.
son of a bitch.
Continue. Couldn't help it. You paused at the exact right time.
Roman Reigns then releases his hand off of Renee, so Renee takes a sigh of relief, and Roman says, so understand something, that I'm going to have to do even worse in order to put you guys away. And you know, Renee, you and me have a good relationship. I don't want that to be ruined. But please, the next time you see your husband, say hello for me. And then after that, hug him very tightly. Because it's the last time you're going to be able to hug him the way that he is. Because the next time I see him, I'm going to break him.
Powerful words from Roman Reigns, but he's been the world champion for God knows how long now, and he really genuinely feels that he could say and do whatever the hell he wants.
He won the title for my company last year in May, so he's been champion for a year.
Which is significant. And I do have to say this too. I love the idea that Roman Reigns would be like, I didn't hurt you. I saved you. I saved you from yourselves and from your own aspirations of grandeur that would never come to pass while I am the tribal chief. I love that idea. Like that whole, like, it adds to the whole God complex that Roman Reigns has built since he's won the title, to the point where that ego's getting so large that eventually somebody's going to have to put that thing in check. But we'll have to see what happens, because he's got quite a while before that comes to pass.
Right, and we have a whole tournament to go through before we get to that.
And speaking of
one of his cousins, Jey Uso, representing Samoa, versus Alex Shelley, representing the United States of America.
Interesting.
Jey Uso, one half of the tag team champions, chooses to come by himself, and the right-hand man defeats Alex Shelley in an 8-minute match.
Fair enough. Doesn't have to be flashy for this one.
No. But Jey Uso moves on. Next match. Representing the United States of America, Powerhouse Will Hobbs versus representing the United States of America, Heath Slater.
Oh no.
Over under 3 minutes.
3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Sure.
All right.
Powerhouse Will Hobbs wins.
Oh, poor Heath. Oh well.
Heath got beat.
Hate to see it. But what else are you going to do? You going to have Heath Slater beat Powerhouse Hobbs? Yeah, I don't think so. No.
Next matchup. NWL World Cup Series matchup. The International Champion, Jacob Fatu, representing Samoa, versus Kota Ibushi, representing Japan.
Okay.
Now, this match is a little bit longer. I'm going to give it 10 minutes. It's Kota Ibushi being the first man really to stun Jacob Fatu, especially with his kicks, his knees, and his offense. But it's just not enough. Jacob Fatu catches him with the Samoan spike, picks him up, Samoan drop, goes to the top rope, Samoan splash, cover, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that Kota Ibushi could stand toe-to-toe with Jacob Fatu, but you cannot beat Jacob Fatu this quick. Not a chance. Not while he's the international champion on top of that. No way.
And not when he's one of the favorites in the World Cup tournament. Like, there are not that many guys that can match up with him.
Yeah. And that's going to be interesting when it comes to the finals time and we get some of the bigger names. And what happens if Roman Reigns has to fight his own cousin?
That'd be interesting now, wouldn't it?
It sure would. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but it's definitely... It's not going to happen. We don't know yet.
Yep. Now, the next match is 2 of the debuts from the ad drops. It is Austin Theory, representing the United States, versus Sammy Guevara, representing the United States.
Okay.
Now, Austin Theory, he makes his entrance, no problem. Sammy Guevara has Ty Conti, his girlfriend, with him, and of course they do the sloppy-doppy lady kissing.
Of course.
So Sammy makes his way. This is a 8-minute match. Austin Theory and Sammy Guevara wrestle. Austin's the babyface. Sammy's the heel. Austin gets the advantage. Sammy gets a little bit of heat after Ty Conti provides a distraction. I'm not being the script here because I don't really want to.
Fair enough.
Sammy gets the advantage. Austin makes his comeback. He goes for his finisher. Ty Conti gets back onto the ropes in order to try and provide another distraction. Here comes Rex Steiner and Dominik Guerrero. And they grab Ty Conti and pull her off the ring rope.
What?
Austin Theory hits Sammy Guevara while the referee's not looking in between the legs. Cover, 1, 2, 3.
Well, that's not very babyface-like.
Nope. Rex Steiner and Dominik Guerrero get into the ring. They grab Austin Theory's legs and they hoist him in the air, celebrating. And clearly these 3 are working together.
I like this idea because you could definitely tell that Austin, of all the 3 who's going to have the best microphone skills, Austin Theory is going to have the best mic skills. Of all 3 who are the best worker this young, Austin Theory is the best worker. Not to say Rex Steiner isn't, but Austin Theory is the best worker of the 3. And I like this idea of like having this whole batch of this ragtag group of upstarts with somebody who has been claimed to be a prodigy. Kind of at the figurehead. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes moving forward. But I do like this alliance setup. And Austin Theory, I was surprised when he said he was going to be a babyface, but now I understand. It's all coming together.
Right, because again, the 3 of them cover up for their different weaknesses. Dominik Guerrero is the fast one. He's the high flyer. He's the Lucha Libre inspired wrestler. Rex Steiner's the powerhouse. Austin Theory is the all-round and best promo.
Yep. He's like
again,
Luigi and Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Continue.
How can you drop a Mario and Sonic Olympic Games reference before I did?
It's the World Cup!
I was going to do that later in the
Well, as Josh again can attest to, when it comes to other people's fantasy shows, I'm a bit of a Nostradamus myself. But anyway, so
Right.
I'm excited to see where this faction goes.
Right. And the other thing too is I was looking at my roster, and again, it's older roster. I wanted to do like a under 25 stable to be like that potential that I could grow into.
Yeah.
This is the stable.
I like it. And I'm excited to see where it heads because there's a lot of places they can go, mostly upwards.
Yep. Now, the next match is going to be Alexander Hammerstone versus ACPW representative. As you remember, when we did the lottery draw, an ACPW ball was rolled out. So who is the ACPW representative?
Who could it be?
It is Chad Gable.
All right. Dressed up in Chad Gable gear, not Shorty G gear.
No, because this is a different show. Although, Chad Gable grabs the microphone.
Oh,
Chad
boy.
Gable says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. And I'm here to win." You see, I just enjoyed my time. I just was over on the Atlantic coast, and I beat some schlub called Adam Cole. And you know what? I figured to myself, why not try my luck on the other coast? Why not compete in this tournament? Why not try and win the World Cup? You see, again, I have my home that has so many trophies and medals and awards from all the athletic competitions that I've won.
Boo.
I am an Olympic competitor. I am the best of the best that this country has to offer. I am the next American champion. Everybody here acknowledge me, Chad Gable.
Boo!
And understand something, everybody. You can boo me if you want. I really don't give a damn.
Boo!
Because I'm going to be the man to win this tournament and become the World Cup champion. And that's a guarantee.
That's right. Will we see the guarantee on Alexander Hammerstone here tonight?
Well, we'll see. This is going to be a 14-minute matchup. I'm giving him more time. I'm giving Chad Gable the chance to really work Alexander Hammerstone. And specifically, he's working the shoulder, his right shoulder, because it was injured in that match with Roman Reigns.
Right.
And Chad Gable's punishing it. Alexander Hammerstone eventually makes the comeback. This is arguably probably the best match on the show, with Alexander Hammerstone winning in the end, but doing a one-arm Stonebreaker.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be very cool.
It'd be very hard to pull off, but I'm sure Alexander Hammerstone could do.
He's strong enough, and Shorty G is small enough to where that could probably feasibly happen. And plus, this actually works really well with what I did with Shorty G earlier, because Shorty G needed that win, so he had momentum going into that match, and then he wrestles a 14-minute match with Alexander Hammerstone. You want to talk about rebuilding a losing streak. This is how you make sure. We have done a really good job of cultivating Shorty G to keep him relevant.
Right. Again, Alexander Hammerstone is technically the number one contender in the tournament and is one of the odds-on favorites.
Yes. And the fact that he went 14 minutes with Shorty G, or Chad Gable as it were, obviously the talk around the water cooler would be, well, it took him 14 minutes to beat a guy like Shorty G. How's he going to fare in the quarterfinals and semifinals? If it takes that long to beat a guy much smaller than he is.
Yep. Now, the real thing is that Alexander Hammerstone points to ringside at Renee Young, who's at ringside, and requests her presence. And Renee Young says, "Oh, well, hello, Alexander Hammerstone. That was a successful match. Alexander Hammerstone cuts her off. I don't mean to cut you off, Renee, but I have something I need to get off my chest. Listen here." And he points to the camera with intensity. "Roman Reigns, you cheated me out of the world title. And I will not forgive that. I will not lose again. This close, I became world champion until the Usos got involved. Until you decided to hit me right here." He points to his you-know-what.
Yep.
"But I know what that means. You're a desperate man. You are desperate to keep that world title, aren't you? Well, listen here. I'm winning the World Cup. I'm becoming the world's champion, and the world's champion will defeat you, Roman Reigns. You think that you're a god. Well, trust me. I am Alexander Hammerstone, and I will break God himself to become the world champion."
Very nice. Next week,
And
we'll see Vincent Shane McMahon versus Alexander Hammerstone and God.
Alexander Hammerstone's going to kill God.
Yeah, so it'll be a handicap match.
It'll be a handicap match. And honestly, do you think Vincent Shane could beat Alexander Hammerstone?
I think Vince is too preoccupied with things other than God to be having that kind of a match and come out on the other side the victor. But we'll see what happens in that respect.
Right. Now, we're going to go ahead and shift gears. And Renee Young says, okay, well, thank you, Alexander Hammerstone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is my pleasure to welcome the new NWL Women's World Champion, Bianca Belair.
Yay! I like Bianca.
Bianca makes her entrance with the championship. She's happy, smiley, baby face. Renee Young gets in the ring. Bianca gets in the ring and says, well, Bianca, congratulations on becoming the world champion. Bianca says, thank you very much. It's been a whole lifetime of work, but I'm champion now. And Renee Young asks about Bianca and how she's feeling after defeating the Horsewomen. Bianca says, I feel good. I feel good ridding this company of that influence. The Horsewomen, they're the best of their generation, the best wrestlers of their generation. And I've beaten 2 of them. And trust me, it's not easy to trick the devil once, but I've tricked the devil twice. And I am the champion. You know, Renee, when I came here, I said I was the EST. That meant the established woman. But I didn't get here because I was already made. No, I had to establish myself as the fastest, the baddest, the strongest. And I think I've proven that. Well, I'm sure there are doubters. I'm sure there are people who are doubting me. But trust me, this right here proves the doubters wrong.
Woo! Yay, Bianca!
Yay, Bianca. And then we hear another sound. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. And it's not Pat McAfee. It is actually Big Swole.
Oh, Christ. Oh, boy. You waited a while to pop her out this time.
I waited a while to pop her out this time. So Big Swole comes to the ring and says, listen, I'm really, really happy for you, Bianca. No, trust me, I am. I'm really happy to be here. And really, I'm so happy that you are champion. This is beautiful, you know. A black woman becoming champion. I'm really proud of you, Bianca. You paved the way for everybody. But you know, I think you paving the way was great and all, but who paved the way for you? Who paved the way for you to become champion? Well, there's one woman, and you're looking at her.
Oh, God.
I started wrestling before you, and we met a couple times, and I gave you advice as a veteran to a rookie. And I think that really has meant a lot. And I think I have helped in your quest to become champion. And you know what's the best way to repay that respect? It would be to give me a title shot, because I think I deserve it. For helping you become champion, you should give me the opportunity to become champion. Bianca looks at Renee as like, okay. She starts rubbing her head, and she looks at Big Swole and says, listen, first things first. You wrestled about 6 months before I started, so don't come at me with this veteran advice thing. Second, I competed in the Mae Young Classic before you, and unlike you, my match was highly regarded for being one of the best matches of that tournament. I didn't win that tournament, but I was one of the best wrestlers in that tournament. You got 5 seconds of fame for saying, don't touch my hair, before you got fired from WWE because you couldn't hang no more.
Accurate.
And I've been seeing you parade around on this mission. You think you're a pariah, saying, oh, black women haven't gotten opportunities in wrestling. Black people haven't gotten opportunities in wrestling. What have you done about it? Listen, I know it's not easy being a black woman in this industry. It's not easy being a black woman in this country. But I worked my ass off to become champion. I worked my ass off to become the best. I was held back by my race. but I didn't stand by and wait for a handout like you're trying to get a handout right now. You know what? Get a referee right here, right now. Let's have this match. You and me. And I'm going to prove something.
Right here, right now?
The referee comes out. Renee gets out of the ring. This is a matchup. The co-main event. Bianca Belair versus Big Swole for the Women's Championship.
Oh, boy.
So, collar and elbow tie-up. And Big Swole gets pushed around. Big Swole, kind of shalants it off. Raises her muscles. Starts posing. Bianca grabs her hair whip, hair whip, hair whip, grabs Big Swole, hits the KOD, 1, 2, 3.
And all was right with the world again.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I like this idea of like Big Swole trying to be like, hey, you're black, I'm black, hook me up. Bianca being like, this isn't how it works, but if you want me to demonstrate to you why I am that much better than you and will kick your ass that much longer and that much faster, then fine. Let's get a referee in here. I'm not a woman who's just going to talk. I'll act. And that's the difference between you and me, Big Swole. You talk, I act, I'm the champ. Like how this went down.
Right. That's the thing that I was doing as I was researching this. Like, they only started, maybe a year or so away from each other?
Yeah, it wasn't that long.
Right. And you can tell there's an attitude difference in how they approach wrestling. Bianca, I've never heard a bad thing about her. She's always been a student of the game. She's always been learning. She's always been getting better. She's always been progressing and become what she is today.
Absolutely.
And there's a reason why she's still arguably one of the best female wrestlers in wrestling right now, and why Big Swole doesn't currently have much. Do you know that she's currently a champion?
Of what?
Rise.
Rise and do what?
Ever heard of them?
No.
She's been champion since 2019.
What? What?
What?
Like, for real?
Yeah, it's a company called Rise Wrestling. I have no idea what the hell it is.
Rise on cap. Straight bussin'. For real, for real. Good for you, Big Swole.
To be clear, the reason why she's been champion for so long is that their last event was November 1st, 2019.
Well, there you go. You can't lose the belt if you never defend it.
Exactly. That's why she's champion for 1,000 days.
There you go.
Fun little piece of Big Swole trivia. And I told you were going to hate the co-main event.
Yes, your Big Swole fact of the day.
Big Swole fact of the day. One thing I'm going to say is that Bianca Belair is posing. The horsewomen come out on stage and they all glare at each other, but I'm not going to push that issue.
Fair enough.
We have a lot of horsewomen already from my company. We don't need more.
Yeah. No, understandable.
Right. Now, the NWL World Cup Series will continue with the main event of the evening. Representing the United States of America, AJ Styles. Representing Canada, Sami Zayn.
Interesting main event. Coming from someone who booked Brock Lesnar and Damian Priest, but an interesting main event. But I'm here for it.
Right. Remember, AJ Styles was out of action after being powerbombed on the ring apron by Kevin Owens.
Right.
AJ is looking for a little bit of revenge, especially because Sami Zayn helped in that incident. It is a 15-minute match. AJ is dominating. Sami Zayn is cowering. And then Kevin Owens comes to the ringside because he has to get involved.
Of course he does.
AJ gets distracted. Sami takes the heat. AJ makes his comeback. Tries to go for the phenomenal forearm, but the referee is distracted by Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens grabs AJ's foot. AJ kicks off Kevin. This allows enough time for Sami to grab AJ, hook him off of the ring apron, and throw him back into the ring. AJ stumbles to the corner. Sami Zayn goes for the hula kick. He hits it. Cover. 1, 2. Kick out by AJ. Sami can't believe it. So Sami grabs AJ, tries to go for the Blue Thunder Bomb. AJ reverses it into the Styles Clash. He kicks Kevin Owens off the apron as AJ was trying to go for the cover. AJ grabs Sami Zayn, who's down, puts him in the heel hook, and Sami Zayn has to tap out.
I feel like there was only one real logical choice for this, unless you planned on making AJ Styles and Sami Zayn a feud going forward. But seeing how the World Cup is going to be taking most of the attention, this seems like really the only choice for the way this match could end.
Remember that Sami Zayn is the accessory of the main part of this feud.
Right. And, just not for nothing, but boy, does it feel like Sami Zayn means absolutely nothing ever since that WrestleMania match?
Yeah.
I knew that was going to ruin me on Sami Zayn forever, but like even when you talk about Sami Zayn and use him in a serious mode, I can't get that out of my head.
Right. So that's the whole thing, is that I'm trying to do my best with Sami Zayn, but there's a perception I have to fight. I don't know. I don't want to drop Sami Zayn because he's so valuable.
No, as you shouldn't. I mean, with the way that you've used him and built him, he is a legitimate competitor. So it's not like what WWE did is any indication of how you've booked him. So like that's something that we always have to keep in mind when it comes to ACPW and NWL. Is like, yeah, the way that these people are used hurts their reputation when it comes to the fantasy booking. But if you've been following the way that we've been treating these guys, it's holistically different from the way that they're treating these guys. And it's tough to distinguish between the two, but it's a distinguishment that has to be made.
Yep. Now, next month is July, and it'll be the other half of the World Cup matches. Let me go ahead and give you those so we can hype them up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa.
Excited. That one I'm looking forward to.
Kevin Owens versus Tyler Breeze.
That one should be quick.
Drew McIntyre versus Jimmy Uso.
That one might have more to it than one would suspect on paper.
Rex Steiner versus Xavier Woods.
That should be quick.
Well, that's New Day and NXT Generation going at it again.
It is, and now with the addition of Austin Theory, that does add an additional element to this factor.
Richard Holiday versus Drake Maverick. That one's going to be quick.
That one's going to be something.
Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins.
That ought to be pretty interesting.
Jon Moxley versus Chris Sabin.
Go Chris Sabin.
Pat McAfee versus Kurt Angle.
That one's going to be more interesting than one would suspect on paper as well.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, and there's going to be more to stick forward to, more to look forward to, only if you like, share, and subscribe to the Court Martial Podcast.
That's right. Now, this may not be the most exhilarating episode of ACPW versus NWL, but it's one that makes you want to know what's going to continue to happen. Because with every good setup, there's a good payoff, and the payoff is coming up next month. But until then, it is time to go to our first commercial break. Next week, I believe, Sky, we've got the Money in the Bank 2013 review.
Yes, because we're not watching Money in the Bank 2022.
That's right. We're going to watch 2013. We're going 9 years back in time to see what they got there. Skylar's the one who chose this one, so we're going to take a peek at that. Our historical wrestling review coming up. And of course, throughout the entirety of July, that's going to be Independence Day weekend. We're going to be taking care of all of that. And then, of course, the entirety of July, we're going to have brand new shows. We're going to do another deep dive. We're going to have ACPW and NWL. And who knows if we're feeling randy at the end of this month. And I'm not talking about Orton. We might even get another pay-per-view review in at the end of the month. You'll have to stay tuned to find out. But until then, it is time to go to our first commercial break. Skylar, great show as always. Always a pleasure fantasy booking with you, sir.
And it's a pleasure booking with you, and I'll see you all next time.
That's right. And folks, until that time, thank you very much for watching. We will see you right after this.